Hey guys!
Hey guys!
Happy Valentine's Day!
Yes.
We promised you our first video for our For Better Forever series was coming out today.
So welcome to our first video right here.
We're going to be sharing some questions with you guys. We got a list of questions and we're going to go through them with you so you can learn a little bit about us.
Yes. First off, where we met, how we met, it was a long time ago now, 12 years ago. Actually, I was introduced to Deb by her brother, and from there we kind of talked a little bit. She made it very aware at first that she was not looking for a relationship, but I was patient and we talked, and eventually we hung out, and the rest was kind of history from there.
So a fun moment from our dating life, something that we really enjoyed when we were dating, which was a long time ago. We've been married for 8 years now. But something we always really enjoyed when we were dating was traveling. And while we were dating, in the almost 4 years that we dated before we got married, we went on trips. We went to DC, Virginia, where else? New York City. We were living in Connecticut at the time, so New York City. We kind of went all over. After we got married, we went to Puerto Rico, and where else did we go? We've been to Puerto Rico, Vermont. We went snowboarding in Vermont. So travel's always been in Nashville a bunch of times, and then obviously we moved here. So travel's always been a really big part of our relationship, and we're really excited to see where else we go.
So the big thing, knowing when we were ready to get married, when 2 weeks into our relationship, I had told her I loved her, and till this day I still meant it, and I will tell her for till this day I've meant that part. But also I had a very cluttered idea of what it meant to love somebody, and I kind of got the gist of it, but I still had a lot of growing to there. It was 2011 that I had asked her to marry me. It was on Christmas Day. I had been going through so much, and we have been through so much, and I knew that no matter what we were going through, she stuck with me and I stuck with her, and I knew that was what it meant to actually love and be loved. And so from there on, it was kind of history.
Okay, we got this list of questions I keep looking at. So if you see me looking away, that's what I'm doing, is I'm just checking these questions. Next question on my list here is, what baggage did I bring, or did we bring into a relationship, or decide that we didn't want to bring into a relationship? So for me, I actually was married before. I got married when I was 21 years old, or no, I was 20 actually when I got married the first time, and that relationship was just really negative. It turned downhill because both of us, were really young, and we didn't really understand what marriage was, or what love was, or what it was supposed to be, and it turned very quickly to be toxic and an abusive relationship. So at the end of that relationship, I kind of wanted nothing to do with men. or not men, but in general, I didn't want to be in a relationship, just like Brian said before. But I think once we finally decided that we were going to be together, I realized that I had to let go of all those ideas that were stuck in my head from the past, all those thoughts about what was going to happen to me if I let somebody in and I opened my heart to love again. I had to be willing to let go of that baggage, because sometimes you get scarred from past relationships and you really allow it to stop you from experiencing love again. And so thankfully I did not go through, or I was able to let that go with the help of counseling and other things. And so by the time that Brian and I got together and actually made it a serious relationship, we were ready. We were both ready to let go of the past.
So, our wedding song was Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Actually, no, I like that song. That was what I liked to have. But it was Stevie Wonder. We just love Stevie Wonder in the first place. It was Ribbon in the Sky, and I remembered that it was something that was significant to me because I watched my parents dance to it at their wedding, and it always kind of stuck with me, and I just really like that. So yeah, That's the song we chose. It was not signed, sealed, delivered, by the way. It was definitely a Riverdale guy.
So a low point in my marriage, that's the next question here, is what was a low point in our marriage, and how do we deal with it? Obviously, the low point in the marriage happened 2 seconds ago when my husband forgot what our wedding song was. No, just kidding. But actually, in 2014, we'd been married. We got married in 2012. And end of 2014, October of 2014, my dad passed away. It was actually a few months after our son Jordan was born. And my dad passed away. And that really kind of left me really broken. And we were kind of both in a place. We had a lot of financial stress going on and family stuff going on outside of our marriage. But then when my dad passed away, I kind of let that really bring me to a negative place. And so I kind of painted everything in my life, including my marriage. And so that took a really long time for us to get over that hump. I remember one time in particular, that really kind of headed down the wrong way. It was right after my dad passed, and Brian had some plans to go and do something, and it was already preset plans and everything, and he asked me 101 times if I was going to be okay if he left or if he should just stay with me. But of course, me being who I am, I wanted to be Superwoman, and I didn't realize until he was gone that I actually really did need him, because I was still going through the shock and grief of having lost my dad, and I wasn't ready to be alone yet. But I let that one negative thing kind of sow a seed in me. And that's the thing about negativity, is that it'll sow seeds in you. And one thing that really helped us get through that was in 2015, when we finally decided that we were going to reach out to some couples that had been married for 10 plus years at the time, since we were only married 2 years, and just ask them to really pour into us and offer us some counsel. And so we did that, and that's the way that we actually made it back from a point where we were probably at the door of divorce, to being stable and happy and back in a good relationship. Thank goodness for counseling.
All right, so what we're most excited to share with people in our series, in our little vlog series, sharing all of our experiences, just feeling like we want to pour out to people and just give a little insight and possibly help some people. That's the biggest thing, is that we notice in our today's society, is that marriage isn't what it used to be. Marriage isn't what it's like. And so we want people to know that, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be this grand old thing. It just has to be what you want it. So, yeah.
So I'm most excited just to kind of share also with people, like Brian said, just kind of share where we've been and what we've been through, but also for the purpose of letting people know that they're not alone. Sometimes it's easy to feel really isolated, especially if you're married and you have small children. Sometimes it's you get so caught up in life with littles that you forget that there's a whole bunch of other people out there that are going through what you're going through that can support you. And so I'm just looking forward to encouraging somebody and letting you know that this is it gets better if you're in a hard spot. It does get better. You're not alone. And also introducing you guys to some of the tools that we've used in order to get to a place in our marriage where we are happy and fulfilled, because I think that everybody can have that in their marriage. So why do we pick the name For Better Forever for our podcast and video series? That's a question that we've actually gotten already a couple of times, even though we just launched the page. But a couple of things. My husband and I were unsure. We had a couple names we were batting back and forth. And we decided on this one after asking a few people. We kind of did in little private groups. We did some surveys just to see who picked what name. And this was the one that stuck. And the reason it's significant to me is I feel like it's a twist on your marriage vows. The marriage vows, for better or for worse. I think, to be honest with you, even the bad things can be something good for your relationship in the long run if you choose to look at them through the right lens. And so that's why I'm saying this is for better forever. If you're all about wanting a better marriage or a better relationship in general, that's what we're here to help you do.
All right, so our quote for what we kind of use in our everyday life. The biggest thing is that our quote is that either you could be right or you could be married. And to me, that means like not every day is going to be your way, this, that, and the other. Remember, every day is not just about you in life. Just be there for your partner. Understand them. Understand what they're going through. Understand how it affects you. And communicate to each other. Communication is the biggest thing in marriage that can happen. So make sure you're communicating and make sure you're understanding each other. What's my number one piece of advice for people in relationships? Again, it's communication. Communicate. Even if it feels like you don't want to hurt that person's feelings, the fact that y'all are in a relationship and y'all have been through a lot, if it hurts them by then y'all have a lot to talk about anyway. So you have to stress your feelings, stress what's going on with you, so they know and they're in the loop with you, because it's not a one-sided thing that marriage and relationship is. So just remember, communication, understand your partner, okay?
Okay, so now it's my turn to share my number one tip for relationships. Something I think that's been really big. It's something I learned a long time ago, and as we've learned, as we've applied it in our relationship, both of us, we've learned that it works, right? And that's just simply that I'm reading from paper, so don't call me crazy. I'm not trying to ignore you, but my happiness is not my husband's responsibility. My happiness is not, and his happiness is not my responsibility. Of course, we want to do things to make each other happy, but by not burdening him with the responsibility of my happiness, what I'm actually doing is freeing myself to be grateful when he does do something nice, which happens often, thank goodness. But it also frees him to search for what makes him happy. And that's important. That's a very important, something that I would say, having been down this road for, going on 12 years we've been together, understanding that in order for me to be happy, it's my job to find out what it takes to be happy. And like Brian said, to communicate that to my partner, not to tell him, hey, you have to do this to make me happy, but to say, hey, this is something that I need to do in order to make myself happy. And whether that's going to the gym or, like hanging out with my girlfriends or, and we all have those times. It's definitely something that I'm responsible for. And I think the sooner we all take responsibility for our own happiness, the better our relationships in general will be.
So thank you guys for joining us in our first video of our series, For Better Forever. Well, not really series, it's kind of our thing now. But again, thank you for joining us. We hope that you stay with us and see what comes up, okay?
Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you next week for another video in our video series. And watch also for posts that'll let you know when our podcast starts.